Hello, everyone. Welcome to another GoDaddy Pro EMEA meetup. To learn more about GoDaddy Pro, you can visit the link that is in chat. And GoDaddy Pro challenges web designers and developers to do their work more efficiently and help them provide a better experience and better results. So, if you want to have better results with your client and for your work, check out this link for GoDaddy Pro. A couple of housekeeping items before we start with the meetup. Today is 20th of June in 2022. It's a very warm day, as I've heard from the participants and panelists that we will have today here. So we're looking forward to summer and summer festivities. Please feel free to introduce yourself or ask questions in the chat. We will be more than happy to address all of them. This session will be recorded, and the recording will be available in 48 hours at the same link you joined today or at our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. The link is already in the chat, so if you'd like to subscribe, visit us, please do so. Also, you should get a survey email. Please be kind to answer a couple of questions for us. And we will be more than happy to hear if we're doing good or if we need to improve something. So I talk too much, but very soon we will actually get to the topic. The headline of today's event is called Accessible Website Architecture and User Experience. So when we speak about website design, primarily we talk about aesthetics, color schemes, images, layout, text, fonts, and many other things. But there is so much to that, moving on behind the scenes that determine whether the design is user-friendly, inclusive, and accessible. Many people and many actually influencers nowadays talk about accessibility in WordPress. So today we decided to experience what accessibility of websites is. And while website content architecture improves, such consistent navigation and clear sitemaps and features really can improve the browsing experience, especially for those relying on assistive technologies. So, without further ado, I would like to present our today's panelists. First of all, I will present Lazar Bulatovic. Hello, Lazar. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing very well, and I'm looking forward to this event. Hope you're doing good
Oh,
as well.
thank you very much for joining us today. You will bring a lot of interesting information together with Anne. And when I spoke to Anne and I said actually how I should represent you when it comes to accessibility, since you also have your own business as well, she said that she's a mean dragon running after the entire world about making their sites accessible. So, and how do we imagine you actually?
Well, unfortunately, I make myself into the least popular person in the room very often, although it's not with bad intent. But it's to me, everything is about the being conscious of accessibility, right? And it's I sometimes say I'm like a virus. I infect people. So I know a lot of really talented plugin designers, and I will ask them, "Can you show me your plugin?" Yes, and then, "Can you show me how to navigate your plugin with a keyboard?" And some say, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I made it possible to navigate by keyboard." And some are completely stunned and taken aback, and oh, it's not possible. And that is about the softest way I can introduce them into making their product accessible, because then I start explaining to them where they can find how to fix that. And the same with color contrast, or I will ask a designer, "Can you make your screen into black and white colors, grayscale colors?" And suddenly they see they gave function to color, which is really hard to see. Um, and if they have a Mac, because I have a Mac myself, I show them how they can use a screen reader, which is also
Wow. That's a
very
lot.
infectious.
That's
So yeah, I take time for that. I tell people, you can come and talk to me for 20 minutes and I will show you that. And this is planting the accessibility virus, but this is a good virus, because people cannot
wow. I'm so
unsee or unknow what they just experienced. And this is basically what I do. I'm an accessibility advocate.
Very
So
good.
and I try to make people experience what it is like. And I'm so glad that today we have Lazar, because he's going to show us and make us experience what he experiences when people make inaccessible sites or texts, for example.
Thank you very much, and this was a great introduction. And Andrea, could you please also tell us how are you today? You and Lazar actually know each other for some time, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we do actually. Lazar is probably the first person to introduce me to the world of visually impaired people and learn how their day-to-day life, how they use technologies, what they have access to, what they don't, and what are their main issues. And basically, some of my own misjudgments he also influenced to change to the better, because it's not that common that your experience is that I mean, what I want to say is that education makes you learn that visually impaired people are not communicative, that they are beggars. Basically, there are lots of negative emotions about them, and when you meet a person like Lazar, how can you believe that that's the case? He's so kind, so interesting to so helpful to work with, and he helped us a lot. Now it's time for my introduction. Actually, my name is Andrea. I'm in business doing websites and video games since 2014. I have a small studio for game development. I'm developing an audio game called Sounder. Quasar also helped with the development of that game with his advice and feedback. Also, he's I'm working on websites from day to day. That's what I do for a living. I work as a WordPress expert at GoDaddy, and in general, I'm testing out every technology that there, and trying to find ways to improve it for the users, which also include website accessibility.
Thank you, Andrea, very much. I see you're struggling with your camera. We only see half of your head at the moment. I don't know if you can. It's not about the length of your arms. I think you need to slide up and down the phone a little bit. Just put it up. Yeah, perhaps that's all okay as well. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be awesome. So if we started, I mean, we already have started the introduction part. Thank you, Andrea, for starting this round. Lazar, could you tell us what you do?
Well, I am the first and only world's blind public speaking and presentational skills coach. So I help professionals and founders, entrepreneurs get better when presenting and basically improve their presentation skills so they win more clients or advance in their career. And if you want to learn more about my work, just check out my LinkedIn profile.
That's awesome. I already shared in the chat
Yeah.
the link to globalspeak.net, to the website of yours. So if people would like to check it out, also I've put in the chat Andrea's Thunderstrike Games link to their startup gaming company. And Anne, what do you do?
I've been creating websites since 1998, but since 2 years after I saw a tweet about accessibility that made me cry, I actually blogged about that. I dove deep into accessibility, and right now I am mainly consulting about accessibility awareness. So that's what I do. I know about development, I know about web design, I know about copywriting So I'm probably lucky in that way, because normally you specialize in one thing, but I'm broader than this. And I call myself an accessibility and possibility advocate, because I don't believe in I cannot. You can or you don't. That's what I believe in. And the guidance I give to my customers is based on that. And the spear point is to say small changes happen through kindness, big changes happen through greed and capitalism. And it is my main goal to get the world to tell the WordPress community and the e-commerce systems and anybody who provides the world with ways to publish websites and web shops. I want the users to get pushy towards these providers and say, listen, I like your web shop system, but it is very inaccessible, and this is costing me turnover, and actually a lot of turnover. You can see on my website how much it is. And I think that when these software makers realize that the customers don't want to use their stuff anymore because their code base is inaccessible, they will change, because it's going to hurt in their wallet. And this is how I try to bring about change also within the WordPress ecosystem and the WordPress community. So that's what I do.
That's amazing. I mean, there's a lot to listen from all our panelists, because I think you, first of all, you live in different work parts, and then you have different careers. But to start with questions, I would urge everyone, please put your questions in the chat, and while we answer our questions that we have prepared for you today, we will also address yours. So let's start with Andrea, perhaps. What are your thoughts and personal experience when it comes to websites or games being accessible? You just mentioned that you create games. Could you tell us more about your experience with accessibility with games and perhaps WordPress websites?
Sure, Maya. I think that my main motivation to go deeper into this topic came once at game development showcase. I met a guy who tested out a game which used to be a failed project to get into a master's degree for the guy which I was working with, who is doing sound design. And that guy who tested out our game told us, "Hey guys, you know what? This project is cool. It might be interesting to visually impaired people." And at that point, we were totally oblivious to what does that mean, how that looks like. We had no knowledge about how the market is. Uh, what's the market for this basically niche of programming and game development. And once we did our research, we found out that the games that are available there are, in general, there is very little games that are available that can be played. Of course, Lazar did show us some examples of games we didn't even know existed, because they're not marketed enough towards people who can see. And there are also some issues with graphics design of those games. Obviously, the games are made for visually impaired people. However, I think that there is a big gap between technologies that are dedicated to visually impaired people and technologies that are that try to be accessible to visually impaired people, and also, but mainly developed for people who can see properly. The gap is that we are unable to find the middle ground in most cases, we are unable to find the middle ground between accessible game and well-designed game. And that also applies to websites as well, because when you have a project that is, for instance, a game that is developed for visually impaired people, this game does not have a user experience that would drive people who can see to play it, to try it. We found it hard with some games we tried. And on the other hand, you have games, and mainly I'm talking about websites here, because in the game development, I can basically talk all day long what's wrong with marketing strategy, with investing in visuals, how much that affects visually impaired people in terms of games they can play. There are some movements in positive direction here, but everything is so. When it comes to websites, it's a bit faster, because obviously the impact is much higher in that regard. However, I feel that we are all missing that middle ground. That we should say, hey, this is good, this is not good. With Zounder, basically, I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just giving an example. We are trying to preserve as much as the experience you're getting as a player, but also to uh, allow visually impaired people to play the game equally, with equal experience as somebody who can see, and to basically not deliver an experience that is affected by the fact it's only an adaptation, but instead that we can have an experience that is equal to both visually impaired people and people who play games on regular basis.
Thank you very much. Lazar, how about you? If we talk about the accessibility, what would be your thoughts and personal experience when it comes to websites or games being accessible?
Well, I always put the equation sign between accessibility and simplicity. And honestly, I really believe that websites that are accessible are also very simple for use. So when it comes to website accessibility, I can say that the entire industry goes to the right direction, and that with the development of screen reading softwares and other products for the blind and visually impaired persons related to assistive technologies, I would say that most websites and most things that we need on websites are accessible, okay? But there are certain, like very specific things that are simply impossible to click or to use when you have your screen reader active, or simply said, if you are blind. For example, I recently came across a mobile bank where I wanted to open my account in, and then I was able to fill in everything, like the email address, my first name, my last name. Every single information could be filled without special accessibility, let's say, adjustments. But I couldn't check the checkbox which said, I accept your terms and conditions.
Mhm.
And basically, no matter if no matter that I was able to simply complete the form, I was not able to proceed because I could not accept their conditions. I mean, I want to accept them, but that was not possible for me. So the checkbox didn't work. Okay. So some other things that I would like to show you today, if you give me the opportunity, are the date pickers. So the entire website of airplane companies are accessible, for example. That the website is totally fine. But when you click on book your ticket, and then when you choose your outbound and inbound flights and whatever you choose, and then you just need to click and pick the date when you're going to travel, or that's not possible. So you just cannot click, you just can't choose the date. And those minor issues that most websites have basically destroy my experience with using them. And it's a pity, the developers are doing so good, so well to adjust the website. The screen reader part is also fine. They do everything they can, but there are some things that simply can't be done. And then if I have to ask for help, just of the site for if I have to ask the help of the sighted person to click like terms and conditions or to pick a date for me, the entire experience is just ruined, and I can't call that website accessible.
That's a very straight to the point observation, right?
Mhm.
So, and I assume you spend a lot of time on internet, right?
Oh, definitely. I'm using screen readers since 2004. And I'm definitely, seeing changes in technology. I seen how it was before, how it's going now, and I'm constantly following the latest accessibility trends and screen reading trends because I simply have to stay in the loop if I want to be able to take part in the society with IT technology, because we are all required to use computers. And if I want to use computers, I have to simply be updated when it comes to accessibility. So I definitely know a lot of that. Yeah.
Wow, is that hard for you? I mean, to find the relevant information or perhaps join the
Well,
team?
no, it's actually not, because blind community has specialized mailing lists and forums where they update us everything. So I'm just subscribed into some mailing lists, and every day I receive updates and just follow the trends, and that's all. But once you start doing this, it becomes your daily routine. So nothing special about that.
I think whatever you're saying, it's just the music to Anne's ears. And are we going to subscribe to some of these forums already, right? To
Yeah, I
really
totally understand that the environment is different and that people don't know about this so much, but I just want to stress out that when you are visually impaired and when you are blind, the things are as it is. And we don't pay so much attention to, yeah, no, I have to download the latest version, install it, and see how it works with this and that. No, you just do that and go on.
Before we move to Anne, Yelena asked a question. She said, "Hey, do you use screen readers in English or Serbian when browsing websites? How about mobile applications? And do you have some thoughts or insights about screen reader availability in languages other than English?" Yelena, thank you very much
Yeah,
for this
let's
question. It's
let's
really
go let's go
Great
question by
question.
question. I think. Yeah.
all right. So first one is, do you use screen readers in English or Serbian when
Me
browsing websites?
personally, so basically, you have to distinguish the one thing is screen reader, and another thing is a synthesizer. Okay, and so basically, screen reader is just a program that is independent from the synthesizer. Synthesizer is the voice that you are using. Okay, so what you should actually what you want to ask is if I'm using Serbian or English voice. So all the time I'm using English voices because they are much more responsible and they simply sound better, etc., etc. But I can also use Serbian synthesizers. But in most cases, I do use only English, and I even read Serbian literature and Serbian texts with the English synthesizers because I simply got used to that. I'm doing this for about 20 years, I told you. So yeah, that would be the answer. So basically, yes, I use only English voices because it's just easier for me to navigate. I even read Serbian Cyrillic with American accent because
Oh, you need to show us this.
Oh
oh
man.
yeah, yeah, I have to. I can do that because yeah, because the NVDA, the screener I'm using, is a free and open source. So the blind community just created the dictionary for Serbian Cyrillic and combined it into this synthesizer I'm using.
We need to invite the polyglot team to these meetups because we cannot do anything without them anymore. So, also, the second question is, how about in mobile apps? What do you use for mobile apps?
For mobile apps, it's basically you can use either iPhone or Android device, whatever you choose. Uh, if you choose in Android devices, you can choose which screen reader you want to have on your disposal. Okay, Google has its own screen reader called Talkback, and the entire if you are using, like, let's say, stock Android, like Android One, everything is totally accessible. So you can read messages, you can simply do your phone calls, everything else. And the major applications, both for iOS, Android, and Windows, are pretty much accessible. So I'm totally fine using LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Viber, Messenger, and everything else. But there are certain apps that are totally inaccessible. For example, when I was trying to open the bank account in the bank I was talking about just a few minutes earlier, so a few minutes ago, I had to enter the code which was provided to me via SMS. And so I was able to read the message, I was able to read and remember the code, but I could not click on the field in the app where I was expected to write that code. So we can say that this app was not totally accessible. So basically, uh, the leading apps are pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. They also have some updates where they don't care about accessibility, but they usually fix it quite quickly. But some other apps are totally inaccessible, whereas some others are partly accessible. So it depends. And also, there are both for Android and both for all operating systems and for all devices, there are apps strictly created for visually impaired persons. For example, GPS apps for visually impaired, like mobility apps, messaging apps for visually impaired, uh, stuff like that. So Be My Eyes is the app designed specially for blind community, Tap Tap See, and something else. But basically, yes, there is the entire market of the apps related to users who can see.
Amazing. And
Mm.
the last question from Yelena is: do you have some thoughts or insights about screen readers availability in languages other than English?
Yes. So basically, again, it's not about screen reader, it's about voices and synthesizers. I'll tell you about English. So everything is totally available. There are a lot of companies, and there is a huge market for this. The USA, they just know how to sell everything and anything. But in Serbian, we can definitely talk about this for years and years, because in Serbian we still don't have the synthesizer, the voice that would basically satisfy my needs, and the synthesizer for which I can say, yes, this is totally acceptable, and yes, I will be using this every day, just like I'm using this synthesizer both for phone and computer. So we don't have that still, but we definitely have progress. And yeah, the most popular Serbian synthesizer is Unreader, made by Alphanum from Novi Sad. I used this synthesizer while I had to study and read literature, etc., etc. But nowadays I'm using just a simple e-speak when I need Serbian texts, but usually English.
Awesome. And I know that you're very responsible when it comes to accessibility, and I'm sure that the examples that Lazar has given us today actually just reiterate the fight that you're fighting these days to promote accessibility. So I just wanted to ask you, you have your own experience of accessibility and importance of websites being accessible, but now having Lazar actually stating the exact examples, how do you feel about it, and what do you do to prevent those things happening, if
It
possible?
it it only confirms the stuff that I am saying to people, and I'm actually going to ask you to for a download of this recording, and I want to have this piece to show it, because one of the biggest mistakes people make in web development in general is they will not have it tested by people who have disabilities, whether it is visual impairment, whether they are deaf, whether they are colorblind, whether they have cognitive disabilities like I do. It's not getting tested. And then people will say, oh, but it's so expensive, which is, in my opinion, bullshit, because no, you can't, or no, you don't, again, is my war cry. And if people think it's too expensive to have an individual site tested by a test panel, then let's join forces and make sure that we make this affordable, that we start up something where people get paid to test. And if 1,000 people are there to pay someone to test, not so expensive than when it's just one company paying to test. Okay. And also what Lazar says about he's trying to open a bank account, so he wants to bring his money to the bank. Hey bank, I want to give my money, you can draw interest from me, although there's not much interest nowadays, as I heard. But I'm bringing you my money, and now this bank doesn't get his money. And banks don't realize, and anyone selling stuff, or flight companies or travel agencies, they don't realize how much business they walk out on simply by something as silly as a checkbox that was not possible to check. And that this checkbox is not possible to check could have been checked by my 10-year-old nephew when I say, use the keyboard to sign up on this website. No one needs to be a superhero to do keyboard testing. And this is also one of the things, maybe you can tell I'm getting very passionate about it, because it is so frustrating. And on the other hand, I it just confirms we have to be a bigger positive force to push this. And one of the questions I have for Lazar is, how do you maintain your patience when this happens? How do you have route? Okay, now I'm going to act someone, or are you sending an email to the bank saying, hey, what do you
Okay,
do? I mean, if I were in your
it
shoes,
depends.
I'd be mad.
Well, it depends. It depends. I am mad sometimes. It depends how much I need the service at the moment. Okay. For example, I walked away from this bank because of their inaccessibility. Okay. When it comes to dates, when I have moved to flying, etc., if I don't find a better option or price or whatever it is, I just ask someone to pick a date for me, or I ask a friend to just give me the link with the booking information so I can just enter my credit card information and make the payment. Yes, I'm sometimes I'm definitely pissed off because you can't do something which is very important to you. And basically, those are some tiny things. The entire website is accessible, but this one button is simply unclickable.
It's
Yeah,
tiny, but it's
sometimes
a
I'm mad.
wall at the same time.
Yeah, exactly, and that makes me a bit frustrated. And it depends. Sometimes I almost never suggest developers change something because I simply don't have time to do this. I'm not in accessibility that much, so I just use it for my own purposes. Who knows? Maybe I will switch to this advocacy field. Who knows? But anyway, usually no. I usually try to solve this either with some help of my friends or whoever it is. But definitely, I'm just trying to solve this and go on. In case I find a better solution which is accessible, I just walk away and just apply that.
This is
Yeah.
awesome. Why don't we? I mean, I think we are already at the point of show where, Alazar, maybe you can demo certain stuff about us,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Uh, do you want me to do it now?
Well, let's start. Yes, I mean there are a couple of websites that you want
Yes.
to showcase, just like and just for the record, before Lazar shares any of these websites, I mean, we all present here do not hold anything against developers, designers, or the brand websites being showcased. It's just that our pure intention is to spread the importance of website accessibility knowledge and practical points to consider among professionals when creating online experience for wide masses. So we're not going to showcase we don't have any bad or negative thoughts about it, but we just need an example, the best one, to show how this can be overridden, right? And how Lazar and people who have different types of visual of impairment, not necessarily as his own, how their experience online could be improved. So here is Lazar. Lazar, would you like to share this screen?
Yes, I will share the screen. My idea was to show you a few websites. Some of them will be totally inaccessible, some of them will be partly accessible, and some of them will be fully accessible. So let me share, and yeah, the demo will take no more than, let's say, 7 minutes. So let me share my screen now. And okay, so again, share screen. I will say entire screen. Screen. And share system audio so you can hear my screen reader.
You have to open a new tab. Yes.
Here it is.
Do you see the tab?
Yes.
All right. So let me now show you the most accessible website I ever found. And it is basically intended for blind users. It's called Blind Help Project. Yo, so it says Blind Help Project, envisioning the brighter tomorrow through the lens of technology. And now I'll press enter to open the website.
Document busy blank. Blind Help Project envisioning a brighter tomorrow through the lens of technology. Monday, June 20th, 2022, 7.
Yo, so it says, okay, so Monday, June 22nd.
Monday, June 20th, good evening. Hope you're enjoying the gentle breeze.
And then I pressed Control plus Home to reach the top of the screen. And then it says, hope you enjoy the breeze.
Link skip to main area.
Skip to main area.
Link skip to search area.
Skip to search area.
Graphic, the logo of PHP containing 3D VR glasses constructed through letters P.
And then it says the logo of PHP, which means they have the alt text. Basically, the alt text allows the image description. So whenever you put the image, the graphic into your website, you should always add the so-called alt text with and the description. I know that there are some automated systems that do it for you.
Graphic DMT consolidation heading level 1 Blind Help Project. Envisioning a brighter heading level 2 search form. Search. Edit search this site.
Okay, so let's say search this site.
Edit search this site. Search edit blank.
Okay, let's say blog. BLOG. Now press enter.
Oh, search Blind Help Project. Document busy blank. Search Blind Help Project. Monday, June
okay, and I think that it should start with H, like to move to the first heading. I'll press H because this is the screen reader command.
Blind Help Project heading level 1. Search form heading level 2.
Search form.
Sign in link heading level 2. Heading level 2 link main menu. List with 5 items visited link home. Search heading level 1. Search results heading list with 10 items.
Oh yeah, and it says search results.
The search results heading level 2.
And then I'll press H.
List with 10 items privacy policy link heading level 3. Search results heading list with 10 items heading level 3 link privacy policy. Information to select from the people.
Oh yeah, privacy policy.
Use dictionary. Best English learning dictionary link heading level 3.
And then your dictionary, best English learning dictionary. Okay, let's say that I want to read about this. And then I'll press enter to open this blog, this article.
Use dictionary. Best English learning dictionary blind help. Monday.
And then it says again, your dictionary. And I'll press H until I hear this headline.
Search form heading sign link main menu use dictionary. Best English learning dictionary heading level 1.
And then I will go with the down arrow so I can read. I'll just show you how the screen reader works. I will go by down arrow so I will read line by line. So the first thing I hear is last updated.
Last updated on Saturday, March 3rd, 2018.
Oh, on Saturday, March 3rd, 2018. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm scrolling further. And now my screen reader is reading.
New dictionary, workspace offline 2. You can download offline packs for 38 international languages. Collins Advanced Dictionary, Word Dictionary, and also English sample sentences. You can use new dictionary without internet. Also, the installation package is only 5 MB. New dictionary is not only the largest English offline dictionary, but is also the best app for language reference, English learning, and vocabulary building. Use it.
Okay, now I can choose if I want to read word by word, and I'll press Control plus a right arrow to move forward word by word.
Dictionary is not only the largest English.
Okay, now let's try to go backward. Control plus left arrow, because this is a keyboard command.
Largest, only, not, is, dictionary.
Okay, now let's see. I want to open the combo box and see if there is a combo box. I'll press C for combo.
No next combo box.
Oh, no next combo box, so there is no way.
Okay.
Now I'll want to see if there is an edit field, and I'll press E to see whether the screen reader, whether the cursor will force me to get there.
Search edit, search the site.
Oh, yes, there is a search edit, so the edit where I can search the website.
No next edit field.
And no next edit field on this page. Okay, well, let's see if there are some edit fields on previous page. I'll press Alt plus left arrow to go back.
Search line help project, LinkedIn, Monday, June 20th. Search edit, search the site, enter your keyword, edit wrong.
Oh yeah, there is search and there is enter your keyboard. So there is second edit field here. Let's press E again.
No next edit field.
And there is no next, but let's press Shift plus E.
Search edit, search the site.
And then I'm just got back to the first edit field.
Enter your keyword.
So there are 2 edit fields on this page. Okay, now let's see. I want to have all of the links at the press of my arrow keys. I'll press Insert plus F7, which is the screen reader command for lifting up all active links on this page.
Elements list dialog. Preview. Skip to main area.
Okay, so elements lists. Skip to main area. Let's press down arrow.
Skip to search area.
Skip to search area.
Decrease text size.
Decrease text size.
Restore default text size.
Restore default, whatever. Okay, let's try to move letter by letter. Let's say if it says with, let's say D.
DTS 5901.
Yeah, DTS 58. It must be some picture.
Google admin administration of Linux server. DMCA. Decrease text size. DTS.
Yo, so that's basically going letter by letter. Let's press S.
Solid files. A cloud-based file
Solid
storage service provider.
files.
Skip to main area.
Skip to main area.
Skip to search area.
Skip to search area. So everything which starts with S is now pronounced.
Search line help.
So I showed you how to go heading by heading, combo box by combo box, edit by edit field. You can go button by button if you just press B.
Search button.
Search button. Next button
Donate to BHP via PayPal.
is
Easier way to pay.
donate to BHP via PayPal.
No next button.
And no next button at all. All right. I hope you realized how the blind people are using these things. Now let me show you the site which is not that accessible.
Remove tab. Search group. Search by voice. Frame visited. Search combo.
And this is the website called HR World.
HR. LB.
World Adria. Okay, so I entered the Google, I searched for this phrase, and then I'll press enter.
Adria. HR World. Adria. Google. This site has been blocked from accessing.
Okay, this site has been blocked because of location, no matter.
Search modes and search results. Edit web result with site link. HR World on a mission to create better HR for
Yeah.
the world.
On a mission to create better HR from the world. Ha ha ha. Okay,
Document busy blank.
you see?
Alert. HR World on a mission to create better HR for a better world. Monday, June 20th. Monday, June 20th.
Okay, and it reads without my control.
No, December 30th, 2021. Human resource.
See, December 30, 2020.
December 9th, 2021. Strategy.
I don't do anything, and it reads.
June 6th, 2022. Lead. Ladder match the turbulent market. What is your compensation strategy in 2022? May 26th, 2022. Cato.com. Initial posting.
I didn't press anything.
December 30th, 2021. Human resources. Jesmo Lee. Human Samok Paseka. December 9th, 2021. Strategy. Jednog HR. Malapramina Yuri from the cities of Residence Velika Demova. June 6th, 2022. Lead. Ladder match the turbulent market. What is your compensation strategy in 2022?
Did you get it?
Mhm.
So I don't have any control
December
over it.
30th, 2021. Human resources.
Okay, let's stop it.
Oh, what's triggering this? Do you know?
I don't know. I just don't know that it's totally inaccessible. Okay, so that's simply not the thing that we should go. Okay, now let me show you the Air Serbia website where I wanted to book a flight and I couldn't pick my date.
Search by frame visited. Search group.
Air Serbia.
Air Serbia. Google search. Search the web result with Air Serbia official book flights online and save heading.
Yeah, official
Document
book
busy.
flights, online save, yes.
Air Serbia official book current information for no next edit field. Button close. Air Serbia. Button close.
Okay, let's close this.
Air Serbia. Visit list with 6 link destinations. Link travel. Link Air Serbia. Link contact. Link login. Out of list end. Button book a flight.
Okay, book a flight. So it doesn't give me any information now. So which means that I'll have to see with my arrows what's going on the screen.
Button online check-in. Reservation Belgrade. Bed.
Yeah. So
Enter the promo.
yeah.
Belgrade.
So basically, it asks me to see where to tell them where I'm flying for. So let's say that I'm flying from Belgrade.
Departure date.
Okay. Oh, it seems that.
No next edit Belgrade. No next edit field. Second missing image descriptions open. Main on Deluca from Belgrade from RSP 4 point. Second missing image. Cancel. Edit blank. Air Serbia official book flights online and save document.
Oh.
Blank.
Okay.
Edit level 2 on best offers. Click on label Air Serbia.
Certainly.
Edit Belgrade. Bed. Edit outward. Ow.
Okay, so now I have the open where I want to travel. Let's Paris.
Paris.
Oh, there is no Paris.
There's edit.
Well, blah, blah.
The US, Düsseldorf. Yeah, US.
Yeah, but it doesn't read.
Air Serbia official book flights online. Edit selected
Okay,
Belgrade.
we're going to Brindisi. That's fine.
Okay, wonderful.
Brindisi. BDN. Brindisi.
Okay,
BDN.
Brindisi. And now I press tab, but nothing happens.
Departure date. Return date.
Ah, here it
Departure
is.
date.
Departure date. Not possible.
Return date.
Return date.
Departure date.
I can use
Number
even
off.
I can't use even NVDA's object navigation, which is basically
Section.
the thing which is
Departure
used when something is not accessible.
Text. Section. Left click.
No,
Return
you
date.
just can't click
One passenger.
this.
Return date.
Okay,
One
but you can
passenger.
click
Search. One
on
passenger.
your passengers.
Result. Well, one passenger. Result.
But you can choose number of passengers and whatever you want. Just date is impossible to be picked up. And honestly, I would never book the flight with this company because I simply can't choose when I want to go and when I want to get back. Okay.
I voice frame it.
So that is something what I wanted to share. I think that would be so far from me. If you need some further clarifications or you have questions, just do let me know. I would now stop sharing my screen so we can go on.
Events stop.
Thank you very much. And
Very button.
what are your thoughts?
It's I find this very interesting to see because the first website you showed, Lazar, is indeed wonderful in accessibility for people using screen readers, but it is not for people with low vision. So this website is only partially accessible, and this is one. I love that you took this site as an example because this is my biggest pet peeve. It has to be inclusive for everyone. And what the positive thing is about this is that this website could actually pretty easily be made accessible to people with low vision because it can have
they have
focus
increased.
on the links.
You can increase text size.
Yes, but
it's not
when people have when people have low vision, for example, the contrast has to be strong. And if someone uses keyboard navigation and jumps from link to link, he has to be able to see which link he just landed on. And this is one of the things that makes accessibility complex and very interesting at the same time. And it's just lovely to see how, for you, this website is operable in a breeze. And I think this also touches what Andrea was talking about before in the game, like how to find the middle way between the best experience for everyone. And I can't wait to speak to you more, Lazar, about this, because this is one of the best examples you could have given. And the travel website, I totally get it. And something that is not been made visible to you by your screen reading technology was that it actually also had a very ugly cookie banner pop-up that, as far as I can tell, was not even announced. So you were not asked for permission for them to set cookies.
Oh, no.
So this website is just in need of a lot of improvement. And I think if someone tells them that they miss about 25% turnover on an annual basis, maybe they will change things.
Well, who knows? What I wanted to say is that some websites are actually partially accessible, but in my opinion, people are simply not aware of this that much, and they don't apply these accessibility policies. Some other websites, for example, United Nations website, they have, and I don't know if this is the right approach, but they have totally different website for, let's say, for visual impaired persons. Okay, so if you want to use their website, you can use the standard version, or you can press, I don't know what the command is that, but
Lazar, how do
definitely
you
they
know
say to you,
that? When you are blind
because
and you come onto that website for the first time in your life, you remember when that happened to you? You came on the website of the United Nations for the. How was it communicated to you that there is a duplicate website made accessible?
okay, so yeah, so basically, as I showed you, as soon as I open the website, and which is totally unknown to me, so when I open the website for the first time, I always press Control plus Home to move to the top of the website,
Mhm.
and then I scroll down arrow, and then the screen will just, when I was scrolling, one of the rows was press XYZ for accessible mode.
Ah, okay. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Wow, lots of interesting information. I mean, is there any tool like where developers and designers can write the scanning of their website to understand whether it's readable, or how a person who's developing a website can actually understand whether the website is accessible or not?
There are several tools actually, depending on the platform that you are using. Um, and then there is automated tools, automated testing, but there is also human testing, which is necessary. One of the tools I personally love to use for a first impression, because it is accessible to anybody, or everybody has access to it, let me say, because when I say it's accessible, I mean anybody can use it. um, Anybody has access. If you are in Chrome, for example, you can use the inspector, and with the inspector you can actually go to Lighthouse and then have it test for accessibility. But I have to give a big warning about this. This is the first tip I give to people who have never been in touch with this part of web development. um, you can make a website that is completely inaccessible to a lot of people, uh, get 100% yay great score in the Lighthouse accessibility check. So what I would like to do is to, when you publish the video, I will give you a list of tools that people can use to check if a website is accessible and for which group. And the first thing people can do is test if they can navigate the website by keyboard. The second thing people can do is use the Google Inspector. Um, the third key thing they can do is go really deep into this inspector and uh, tell it to show what a site looks like when someone is colorblind or when someone has other impairments. The list is so long that you have actually just asked me one of the most impossible questions for a short meetup. So this is why I promised to give you this very extensive list. And maybe we could do another meetup with
Next week
accessibility
already.
specialists where we demo our tools, because it is important that people don't get scared of this. It can be so overwhelming because you have to test for so many things. A website consists of so many disciplines. It's content, it's design, it's code, it's audio, it's video. It is so much. And if someone thinks he has to be chocolate by doing everything by himself, he's going to run off screaming. So yeah, I
Andrea,
think
how
we
about
should.
you? Andrea, how about you? What do you think about now? I mean, talking to Lazar, you must have already known about these issues, what Lazar was listing just now in front of us. How do you actually, what you do in order to improve the games or websites that you work on when it comes to accessibility, or do you have a suggestion to give to our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I think that the biggest suggestion I can give, and that complements what Anne just said, it's basically it's not only important that you test out with tools, that test out with your users. Obviously, the users will give you the best feedback possible. However, the problem is that in some cases, especially when you're starting a business, that you don't know will it turn profitable or not. Website accessibility usually comes on sub last or last place, uh, and then people cut the costs by using tools that are freely accessible. One of tools that many of clients I worked with use is called Wave. Uh, there
Yeah.
there are other tools also. However, I think that most people told me, hey, I use this Wave tool for accessibility. And the biggest mistake I notice when people test out websites using this tool is that they only test out the homepage, and then they think they found all accessibility issues with their website. uh, that's basically you would need to test each of the pages that you're accessing, and it's not enough just to test, because there are some cases in which tool is unable to give you uh, results that are reliable because there is a technology that prevents it. So I actually checked Air Serbia's website by accident with the Wave tool, and I found out that it shows only like 5 warnings, because the first thing that loads up when Air Serbia website shows up is a call for DDoS protection. And for somebody who is just looking
Yeah.
at numbers, they would say website is accessible. Website is not accessible. You only had like 2 rows of text to see on it.
That's a very, I mean, when you look at it from a perspective, I didn't know about this, right? And I thought someone else is like taking care of that, and I
There's
wasn't aware. That, say, Anne.
yeah, I'm bubbling. I'm always very but I think the most important thing that we can do in general, instead of going straight into the tech of things, is to put people in their users' shoes. There is something that I call the IKEA experience. Have all of you ever been to IKEA? Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
Yeah.
go to IKEA too, Lazar?
I'm not sure, but I know what they're talking about.
Okay, so for the viewers, the IKEA experience is they are very smart in that way that they will force you through their entire shop. Even if you need one cup, they're going to force you to walk through the entire shop, and then finally you discover, oh, that's in the basement. And then you're in the basement and you think, oh no, I was supposed to get a table. And then you go upstairs again. And if you are for some reason not able to read maps or read the signs, um, uh, you cannot find the shortcuts, and you are put through going through that store all the way again. I mean, it's not like we have time for stuff like that, right? And this is the example that I give for people who create websites with mega menus without a skip link. Okay.
Hmm.
So I know there is a lot of screen reading technology, and of course, people using screen readers um, know their way around it. But when I think of
Yeah,
people who start using screen readers for the first time, and this group is always there, it's present too. They want to go somewhere, and then they have to tab through that insanely large menu all over again. This is a nightmare. This is the IKEA experience gone wrong. And by talking to your target audience. Like, this is why I am so happy to speak to you, Lazar, by really, what is your experience? So I can translate it into something that we all understand. I think this is where the mission is, because the tools, you can find them anywhere. Anybody can use Google. Anybody can find the educational places where you can learn how to make a site accessible, but how to convince yourself or your customer how to do it. I mean, another thing is, like, would you go into a supermarket where every product in the shelf is wrapped in white paper without a label and it only says the prices? Would you buy something? I sure wouldn't. So, but if this is the experience of someone who is blind in a store that has been developed.
That's a very accurate and straight to the point observation, and I will try to wrap up our today's session because we are already at the
Yep.
top of the hour. So first of all, thank you everyone, even people who joined us today to be our guests today as well. So thank you very much for tackling this problem of
Accessible website
communication.
architecture. Unzip read button. Button. Read share screen button. Stop video button. Mute button.
Thank you
No
very
videos.
much for
Button.
giving your
Stop
extra
video
time
button.
and
Button share
effort
screen.
to
Button leave. Button.
help the
Button chat.
vulnerable
Button
groups,
SMB7.
visually impaired
Close
people.
documents.
I wasn't, for instance, aware. I thought my presumption is wrong, as usual. My husband would say. So the thing is, I thought that someone else actually is checking that
No.
and taking
Button
care
SMB6.
that. For instance, when
No.
a
Search
big
engine.
Excuse me,
Movement close item. No laser
excuse
movement
me.
button.
Can I say
Button. Button.
something? Lazar,
Transmitter
can
admin
you
code. Button.
mute
Graphic icon
yourself?
1. Module 1 button. Graphic admin Fabulous. Admin Fab button. Change Alina Kumar. Button. Send Miguel Fernandez. Button. Out of list blank.
Lazar is doing something.
Yeah.
So it would be really nice if you can share this video among your colleagues, because
Mm.
I think that even a couple of minutes of what we discussed, of what parts of websites were inaccessible, maybe you can check all the websites that you've been doing and then see, and at least advise the owners of the website what they can do. And just these small things like a pop-up blocker or perhaps this date picker being accessible to somebody will change lives to thousands
Hmm.
of people, right? So thank you all for joining us today. It was
Thank
really
you for
great.
having me.
I
Yeah.
think this is no, Alazar. We need to repeat this again, and then
Mm.
perhaps give some accolades if some websites improve and if they're very accessible as well. So we can also work on that. Also, please note that a number of links when I post this on recording on YouTube, there will be tons of links that I will include that will go ahead with in the body of the video, which
Mm.
is great. So it would be really nice if you need to add more things to what we already said today, or if you remember anything else, it would be really good. So the wrap up, one sentence from each of you. How do you think accessibility will change, and what each of us can do in order to help that? Andrea,
Now Andrea goes.
Would you like to say how what you will, for instance, do in order to help the accessibility problem being solved?
Well, on my end, I'm always trying to educate people on how to properly use accessibility, not to go crazy with animations, with features that might not prove to be useful, overloading their websites with content. And in general, I think the main thing that will change in the future is I'm actually confident that situations like with blind help project, that you have a partially accessible website that has some visible visual downsides for people who can see, will be thing of the past. And I think the main thing that needs to drive the success of implementation of website accessibility in the future is having standards that are not that rigid in terms of accessibility in regards of technical technical application, but more in like user friendly and what a real human would see. Artificial intelligence is improving, and I think it will be a motor for helping out in that. However, whilst the technology is not yet developed, we obviously need to rely on the human testers, and that's basically a must.
What will be the main key takeaway from you, and what you will do in order to help
Well, we'll see. The only thing I could do so far is just trying to send emails to developer and provide the suggestions for improvements. This is the only thing I think I will able to do. And also, I could talk more about the accessibility issues. So yeah, that would be on my end. I was just checking the number of attendees. So yeah, I don't know why we didn't have so many people here. I was hoping for more, but no matter, I hope that the video will be seen by many more people. But what I just want to stress out is that the accessibility, whatever we speak, and maybe people speak about accessibility, maybe the accessibility is on the top when it comes to website development, etc. But I'm honestly not sure that startups and companies are taking this seriously yet. So, and there is so many things to do about it. We have a lot of work to do if we really think to put the accessibility from words into practice.
Correct. And
Well, this is where my dragon heart comes, and I come with my sword. Because as harsh as it sounds, money talks. Money talks. So, for example, I'm not going to say who it is, but I have recently begun working with a social media management tool who is willing to make the backend inclusive.
Mhm.
That's way more than just accessible as a checkbox saying, oh yeah, keyboard, oh yeah, screen reader, oh yeah, contrast, oh yeah, because an inclusive site and an inclusive software is great for everyone. This is this middle road that Andrea is talking about, which is incredibly difficult in games, but in sites, it's not that difficult. And where I say money talks is I explain to these people that they can actually have many, many, many more customers. And then they ask me, give me the numbers, and I have some funky numbers because I have an article which is great also for people who say, oh yeah, accessible is the latest modern thing, right? I have an article on my website about Tesco that decided to create an accessible web shop for the visually impaired 20 years ago. They invested £35,000 and they got an additional annual revenue of £13 million. And this is what I mean by when I say money talks. So suddenly, when you tell that to people, it's very interesting to invest in this. And in 2020, the world let $13 trillion, guys, let it sink in. 13 trillion. That is, I think, larger than the Chinese economy. Okay. We left $13 trillion of disposable income lying around due to the fact that the world was not made accessible. We all want to participate in the online society, in the online community, not just the blind, also the deaf, also the cognitive impaired, like I am. Uh, uh, we want to spend our money. We want to book travels. We want to buy shoes. Hey, man, we need pants and shirts. We buy stuff online, and if you are not willing to invest in that, so one checkbox stops a customer from investing his money in your stuff, most people have to agree that's really stupid. And this is how you convince companies invest and make it important, because as soon as they think it's a priority, they will invest.
That is true. That is true. Uh, Thank you very much for joining us today. We received a number of DMs and emails for people who couldn't make it tonight, but who are already seeking for a recording. So I'm sure that we will be able to spread, now that we have a recording and that we have key takeaways, each of us, what we will do, especially for instance, and I didn't say what I will do, I'll try to talk and create sessions and content more about accessibility and pinpoint and, you know, put some focus and shed some light actually on burning things for people who are trying to find their right way around in 2022, especially if they're visually impaired. Thank you all. Thank you, Anne, Lazar, and Andrea. And I don't think this is the last time we meet in this setup.
I hope not.
Yes, of course. I hope we will be able actually to meet.
Me too. I think we have a really wide topic that we only like took a little bite of.
We
And
just started,
Yeah, we just scratched the surface.
yeah, we have to surface exactly.
Exactly, and thanks to Miguel and Saras and all the people and Yelena. Thank you very much. Yelena asked really straight to the point questions,
Yeah.
so it will be really nice to replay our catch. Thank you very much, everyone. Once again, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that we, and together with our guests today, try to and broad have and are actually working in the favor of accessibility and inclusion for everyone. Uh, Thank you very much for everything you've done for us, and I see you in our next meetup.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Have a nice time. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.